Okay, thank you. I'm Mathieu. I'm working for a branding design agency. I'm French, living in Brazil for 16 years. We are one of the top branding and design agency for food in Brazil and probably in South America. And why am I here? First, I'm a food lover and very curious about consumer behavior, and that's what we do at the agency.
Great. Hello everyone, I'm Olivier Mouminoux, so I'm in charge of the business development and retention for Elior. Who is Elior? Elior is one of the leaders of catering business, catering activity in France. We are providing about 3.5 million meals per day worldwide. That means we are present in the US, in France, in UK, Spain and Italy. And that means more than 20,000 restaurants worldwide. Why I'm here today? I'm here today because lunch, as we saw in the former presentation, the lunch has a lot of changes after the COVID. We had to deal with all those changes, and in the SIAL, most of our suppliers are present. International, local suppliers. And we see a lot of different trends coming up through the COVID. It was starting already before the COVID, but now what we are living now is an increase of the local products, the local eating, increase of traceability and so on. So that's why being there is very interesting for us to identify what could be the trends for the future.
So I can imagine just being here at SIAL, it certainly gives you just those conversations that you have with people all around. It really gives you this idea of really what's happening. Just to let you know, everybody, by the way, at the end, towards the end, we'll be opening it up to you, the audience. So as you listen, there's something you hear that you're curious about, you'd like to know more, you'd like to challenge maybe Mathieu, Olivier, on what you hear. We'll do that at the end. So questions at the end for anything that we talk about here. Okay, so let's jump straight in. So again, you're here because you just mentioned because of the changes and looking at those trends and understanding those trends. So tell us, if you were to kind of pick a handful of the kind of top things that have really changed in terms of how companies are dealing with this hybrid kind of remote hybrid model, what would you say?
So, regarding the period we are facing now, as we said, the habit changed a little bit. There was already some changes before the COVID, but what we see now, as it has been said before, mostly people are coming at the office 3 days a week, and the other 2 days they are at home for the lunch as well. So what we have to take into account now, and with our clients who are signing contracts with us, is to make sure that the people who are coming during those 3 days are really attracted with the catering as well. That means that when they are coming, they have to be motivated to meet their colleagues, of course, but of course to have some fun during the lunch, to have an opportunity to discover new products, to have, I would say, a culinary trip during the lunch, and that's for us very, very important to take into account that. Of course, there is different services that we can provide. We talk about the fridges, we talk about the click and collect offer. This is something that we are offering as well. Once again, it was already starting before the COVID, but now this is something that it has to be part of the offer. Fridges and click and collect offer. But we are still focusing on the main core offer that we used to deliver, but by promoting healthy food and tasty food and local food.
When you say that, it kind of reminds me, I start to think of maybe, let's say, younger talent, younger people maybe who had just finished university just before COVID. What they kind of know in terms of food is pretty much the food they have at home, right? And so when they come to the office only a couple of days a week, again, kind of really kind of impressing them, not with just the where they work, but also the what they eat at work. So that really is important, right? If we go across, so Brazil, so Frenchman, but in Brazil, I would love to learn a little bit more about this same kind of idea, but in Brazil, South America, as I'm sure a lot of us here would as well. Maybe we have. Have we got any experts on South America from the food sector? Anybody here? No. Okay. I'm sure we all want to know. So tell us a little bit more about the same question, but
sure.
in South America.
In urban center, because Brazilian population is very more on very big cities. You know, like 5 million is a small city for us. Therefore, in São Paulo, for instance, we have a very slow comeback to the office. It's slower than in Europe because of the fear of contamination still, because of the lack of good public transportation, and because people feel really safe at home. They love to feel at home. Therefore, the delivery has really boomed of more than 60%. It was really a huge boom during the pandemic, and it has really deeply modified the habit of lunch. Of course, we need to attract people back to the office. Therefore, many companies are changing the office, moving from an office to another one, closer to metro. That's what we are doing right now. We are moving to a more accessible area, and we are working a lot on all the catering, kitchen, snacking, lunch area. We just did a project for Hershey's, the chocolate company, and we dedicated a huge space for lunching and snacking. This is very important. Of course, our social muscle has really diminished and we have some difficulty to come back to the office and interact with other people. That's why lunch and sitting for a meal is still very important for Latin culture. And we can see that we need to find many options to make lunch enjoyable, indulgent, and really tasty, because young people are really extremely on the pleasure side. They're really pleasure seekers. And we see that this pleasure dimension, because food is about sharing, about, very emotional dimension, is really something companies and catering and restaurant need to catch up. This is one of very strong element. We can talk about digitalization, takeaway, and many other things.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about how coming back to the office is a challenge, and one of those ideas to do that certainly is with the food. But let's go a little bit more into that. How are companies doing that? How are they actually attracting people? I'm not talking about just in terms of the quality and the kind of healthy aspect, but what would you say companies are starting to do to really sort of broadly bring people back to the office and make sure food is one of those priorities that people enjoy while they're at the office for 2 or 3 days a week?
I would say that I have some example by clients. My client said, okay, we have to attract those guys, but perhaps to change the area of the restaurant. Because as Mathieu said, the lunchtime is not only for eating, it's a good period for socializing, working as well. So there is a lot of studies and a lot of work regarding changing the space and at the same time delivering a very nice catering offer. So the habits change, the way you are eating is changing, where you are eating is changing because of the new generation, the interest of the new generation, and because of the cost as well. Because you can imagine that when the people are staying at home, the cost of a restaurant for a client is very high, very high. So, as you said, Mathieu, the people are moving, the companies are moving, they are reducing the surface for the catering. Sometimes they are not providing any kitchen. That's why you have some fridges offer that are coming up, and sometimes you have a very limited offer. So that's why we are really to think not only on what you have on the plate, but on the area, the space dedicated for the food, and not only for the food at the same time, sometimes for working and so on. And this is a new approach of this lunchtime.
So this kind of working, eating and working combination.
Yes, we see multi-use. Really, you need a space to work in silence, a space for snacking, a space for talking with other people, socializing, and we see a lot of outdoor. A really need to get out of the office to be in an open area, sometimes with vegetation or garden, and we see that a lot in Brazil. We've seen a lot of bars and restaurants. The city has allowed them to use to transform parking lots into extensions of their premises, you know, to get really a bigger space outside so people can sit and have a lunch in a better condition, sometimes have a drink, have something in a more relaxed area.
So you would say really that almost like the other entities that are getting involved with this, like the city councils, they're actually thinking a lot. How can we use space in a way that's going to help people not just working, living, but also eating? Yeah?
Yes, because one thing was very striking during the pandemic. The city in São Paulo turned into a desert. You had streets only with delivery guys. You know, it was really a strange moment. Therefore, it's a way of how do we live together, right?
One thing, so we've spoken about the getting people back to work. So we've spoken about the kind of food, the quality, the more healthy food naturally. I'm kind of interested in the idea of when. So the time of lunch, how has that changed slightly since the pandemic, since the crisis? So in terms of before, we know roughly it's the same time. Now, for a lot of people, because of that remote work, because of their working hours, because of where they are, I imagine that the time of lunch or the time of when people eat is slightly changed. Tell us your perspective on that.
I don't know about the time, but the number of occasions for snacking has really increased.
Right.
Yeah, has really increased. And at the same time, the improvement of all the digitalization, all the click and collect, that has really changed the way of getting served during the office time. That's why there is a lot of change with the click and collect approach, with the app, with some app. We are providing a lot of snacking through the app we implemented for our clients. So you have several times of lunch, and I have a good example. Last week I met a client say me that, okay, you know why? On Friday we have not too much people working in the office, but what about organizing a brunch on Friday morning linked with a meeting? That will attract the people coming on Friday, because it's a brunch, so it's quite funny to have a brunch in the office.
Sure.
And we will work at the same time. So this is a really complete new approach to attract people on Friday, because we know that now in most of our restaurants on Friday, it's quite empty.
I have a question for you. On the snacking side, do you see room for growth for all the dessert and the delivery, improving on dessert, ice creams, small sweet snacks after lunch? Or
I think you have always people who like such things, even if the people say, no, I want to eat healthy and tasty and so on, but we know that it works as well, and all the sweets, even if we have on our restaurant, in our menu, all the Nutri-Score, all the items with the Nutri-Score. So you look at the D or E, you say, wow, I'm a little bit suspicious. But no, it works as well. And we know that in restaurant, when you put some sweets, nice presented, and with all the explanation about the items, it works.
Well, as you were saying when you were talking earlier on, it kind of reminded me of habits, right? Click and collect. During those, a year and a half, 2 years, so many people have just got used to using this with food. So food and this go together. And so coming back to the office or back to changing their behaviors, it's difficult to get away from a habit that they've been doing for so long, right?
Yes, I mean, Digitalization is here to stay because it's very easy from your cellular to other food. It's frictionless. You don't have to deal with a human. It's very easier. Many people prefer that, you know. You don't have to call. You don't, and really, it's also the click and collect is the most democratic way because it's the cheapest. You don't have the cost of having the logistic of a restaurant with staff. And also, you don't have to pay for the guy who is delivering the food. Therefore, the cost is the best. And the consumer today is very, very price-driven, conscious. He wants more for less. And click and collect, it's funny because it's really spread out to very famous restaurants. In Brazil, in São Paulo, they have closed their restaurant as they only operate with a dark kitchen. And they deliver at a cheaper price simpler versions of very famous dishes of the restaurant that people know. You know, it's very something striking that we see, and we see a lot of restaurants that go also to supermarket. They develop new product, new ranges of products. Because they have a famous name of restaurant, they go to the Carrefour or the stuff.
That moves me on now to the idea of supermarkets. Many would say that there is a real good opportunity for supermarkets to really jump into to take a slice of that pie in terms of what lunch represents. What do you see, and what's your perspective on what supermarkets are doing or could be doing even more to attract people in to serve them the food at lunchtime?
I think from my side, I think the competition is not really the supermarket, not only.
Okay.
I mean, it's more the street food. We are if you are close to Paris, we are in La Défense. When you go out, we have several restaurants from managed by Elior, but you have a strong competition by food trucks, by all the companies like McDonald's, like whatever, and those are our bigger competitors. The supermarket, not really, to be honest.
No,
not really.
Coming back to you name your main concurrents, competitors are Burger King, McDonald's, these guys. Yeah? Just coming back on the digitalization side, today in 2020, last year in Brazil, the sales of Burger King via digital channel, you know, via cellular, are almost 40%. It means that people go less and less to restaurant, and they just collect and order and consume from which is really
it reminds me again. So these food trucks, these like quick fast food outlets. Would you say that the quality is actually increasing? Are they thinking about, okay, well, if we want to up our game, we have a chance to really attract more people now, trying to keep their prices low, which is tough as well. Are they thinking about how can we make this food even tastier, even healthier?
I think what the people are expecting is a story. They want to have a story about what they are eating. That's why the transparency, all the transparency about the sourcing, the story about the farmer who is preparing his food, the vegetables, the meat, and so on. This is what the people are expecting. And in most of our tenders, the clients are expecting that we provide really the full explanation and story about the sourcing, and that we put this information on the table of the guest. Say, okay, your meat is coming from this area, from perhaps a small farmer here.
Okay, how do they do that? So how would, let's say, how do you transfer that? I can imagine probably on a digital sense to a website, and when you're actually ordering, let's say. But how do they get that story to the person?
Through communication tools that we are implementing in the restaurants, saying that, okay, today you have this steak. This steak is coming from this farmer from this region, and we have a small story about those farmers saying, okay, I am Peter, and have I done my job this way, and this is something that the people and the young generation is looking for, because they are looking for sense. They are looking for explanation, story about what they are eating. are we providing a sustainable food? Are we providing a sustainable service? This is something that is quite new in the approach of our guests in the new generation. And if you are not able to provide this story to explain that we are providing good food, healthy food without any treatment and so on, you have a problem.
Really? So you're saying basically the brands, those who are creating those stories or sharing the backstory at least are getting higher exposure, and people are attracted to that.
What we saw that the people are still ready to pay a little bit more if they get the story and they get the sense of the product they have on their plate. You know.
I see you nodding. Share why you're nodding.
No, I mean storytelling is a very important part of the lunch, and attracting people, connecting with people, and for instance, packaging is a good way to connect and engage consumers, right? I mean, creativity and design are not being leveraged at their real value today. I mean, it's a very cheap tool and a very efficient, very powerful tool to use creativity. Therefore, you see Pizza Hut, for instance, a big pizza premises that is creating from a cardboard box are turning into a football field, for instance, that you can really cut out pieces and play football on a cardboard game. You can film it, send it on social media, receive a promotion coupons. You can transform a packaging into an educative tool, into a creative and artistic way to interact with your audience, with your public. I mean, there is many ways to tell the story of the product as well.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Sorry, carry on. Yeah.
Even if regarding the packaging, we have an issue. We have still a problem because after the COVID or during the COVID, we had to develop the click and collect. So increase of packaging, increase of plastic, and the other hand, we have now new regulation to oblige us to reduce all this packaging. So now we have to change the approach to make sure that the packaging we are using is reusable. When we are delivering, for example, food for children in school, we have to use some inox bag. And this is really a really new approach. We had really on the two extreme position during the COVID because there is no other way to make sure that we can deliver food. But now we change the change is running and with clear regulations in France.
We had, I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a challenge as well. Again, you think about how much packaging, pretty much 2 years of delivery, that all comes in either plastic or cardboard. The cardboard, great ways we can think about how to use that cardboard, reuse it, keep it playful, make it something we can use again. Plastic it's more of a challenge, right?
We are on the eve of a plastic revolution because there is really new substrate that are coming that are really fiber with very polymer coating that protect the food and still are very much more sustainable for the planet. We have a lot of returnable packaging. Today you buy one time your packaging and then you return to the restaurant, you know, and this avoid having to throw away packaging because it's really a big barrier for people for delivery, for ordering food, for instance. 50% of people stopped after the pandemic ordering food from delivery because of the packaging, therefore. But I believe that sustainable packaging is going to evolve more and more and more in the future.
Sustainability, you mentioned it there. We talked about the packaging and also the story. Tell us more, maybe talk to us more about how the green economy, sustainability is playing even more of an important, almost essential role in the behaviors of today's consumer. What would you say?
If I look at the last tenders we won for cities or for private clients, what it is asked is really to promote I would say the local sourcing, And sometimes it is written in some big cities tenders, and okay, you have to source all your vegetables and your food about 200 kilometers from the city. It's quite hard, I can say.
I can imagine.
Because if you look at a city like Lyon, to find a place with around 200 kilometers, it's not easy. But you have a really strong political pressure to make sure that step by step, the caterers and the economy will develop this local sourcing. So that's for the local sourcing. It's a strong and a sustainable approach for the future.
Yeah, see, it comes with the food. You know, people want clean food, sourceable food in a nice packaging and very cheap and easy to order and dispose. I think it's very.
And it started perhaps. It accelerated with the COVID when we were talking about help from the producer around the city. You know, because when everything stopped, okay, the farmers and so on had no clients anymore. So they need to do. That's why there was really a focus of, oh, can I help my region, my producers?
So closer to
survive.
Thinking closer to home, helping locally. How can we together as a community where we are help each other? You mentioned it there. The cost, clearly an important part of the consumer's side. Naturally, an important part of the supplier side as well. And things are getting tougher. We know inflation. I don't need to say that word too often, but we all understand what that means. How do you see things starting to unfold in terms of higher costs going up?
As you said, we are living a very tough situation with the inflation. We have contract with fixed price, so we have to renegotiate all our contract to make sure that we are still earning money by providing catering. And it is really hard because some clients, even if they know that the price increased, they know by themselves when they go to the supermarket, they are sometimes reluctant to increase the prices because they have not the budget. They didn't. So we see that, and we expect that the increase of the price will continue in 2023. We had for some products an increase of 20%, 25%.
Really?
So it's very, very hard.
For what? 20% for what kind of products? Tell us.
For meat, for example, from cereals, from all those stuff. So we are really in difficult situation. Even if we want to keep the quality we are serving, we want to keep the variety of it. If we are not successful for the negotiation, we will have to change the offer, to adapt the offer.
I think we see some of the solutions in the SIAL. We see a vegetalization of the food and this is providing another source cheaper of protein. In substitute for meat. For instance, I see a lot in restaurants in São Paulo that we have a plateau fate, ready, like the plate of the day that usually is composed with beans and meat and rice, and they simply substitute the meat for egg. It's very tough, but it's what we see on a daily basis.
It has been regulated in France as well. And now it's an obligation to provide once a week for children vegetarian food.
Really?
Vegetarian menus, diet. So, and we can do a little bit more as well. And as you said, the costs are lower, and it can help for going through the crisis.
We've spoken about a lot of areas already. Just again, one more area in terms of the consumer. And so today, if we look at the consumer and what they're looking for and their demands, when I say demands, I mean the type of foods that they like. So today, compared to let's say 10, even 20 years ago, the consumer has different dietary needs, different types of food they particularly need. Right. So before, in terms of vegetarians, that was the only kind of key word years ago. Today, naturally, there are many more dietary areas we have to think about. How is that changing, and how will that look like over the next couple of years? You are from now until over the next couple of years.
No, I think there are some trends that are appeared 10 years ago or something that they will stay for the future. The approach regarding the sustainable food, the local food with all the traceability, with all the sense behind those local food, I think it will stay. We will have to provide more and more information about where the products are coming from. That's for sure. I would say not only for the market, the BNI market, the BNI catering, but for the schools market as well. As a caterer, we have a role to play as an educator for the next generation. So we have to explain to the children what they are eating, why is good, what is healthy, what is not healthy, and so on. So that's, I think this is something that regarding this search of sense, this is something that will continue. The second thing is regarding the sustainability, regarding the way we are delivering the reduction of carbon print and all this stuff. I think it's part of the game as well. That will continue. The reduction of the consumption of the meat, perhaps less meat, but tasty and good quality meat. That's for sure. And it covers the trend regarding the healthy food. I know what I need. I know what I'm eating, and I want to. It has to be tasty.
And I believe also, just to add to what you said, that the pleasure and the indulging side is very important. Therefore, we cannot lose the fun and the pleasure of eating. We have a lot of new chefs, the influence of new chefs, young chefs like Otto Lengi, for instance, that makes us, they are bringing new ways to cook vegetables, for instance, and they make us love vegetables because they have different ways to combine ingredients. The people are more and more open to ethnic food from other countries. People travel. Therefore, all this influence probably will come into the lunch on the lunch table.
This is what I was talking about regarding the culinary trip. The people are expecting emotions. They want to, when they go to the restaurant in our business 3 days a week, wow. When they are here, they say, wow, it makes sense. It was good to come today, even if I meet my colleagues, to have fun with them and to discover something new, tasty, and with quality.
So we heard so many good things there. Tasty, quality things that are the quality rises as well. Together as a social thing is just as important when you eat it. If you're eating it alone or if you're eating it, with a group. Very important, this social aspect as well. So we've heard, and also the story. You mentioned the story behind the food, having that backstory so that people can connect with that as well, giving that emotional sense to the idea also. Before we finish up, we're going to finish up very shortly, but before we do that, I'm going to ask you, those of you that want to ask a question, can ask questions or challenge some of our panelists if they want to as well. But before we do that, my last question for you both is, if we were sitting here in SIAL is every 2 years, isn't it? So if we were, let's say 10 years time, imagine that, 10 years time, we're sitting here, what kind of challenge, and we're talking about lunch, what kind of challenges do you think potentially we would either still be talking about or new things that would come onto the list?
Perhaps one point regarding our sourcing, to make sure that the agriculture we have in France, for example, is still surviving, that we are able to get and to provide products from our fields for our children, our restaurant, to make sure that it is still possible. I think the topics regarding the sustainability will remain, and environment approach regarding all of what we said about pollution and so on. That's something that we are strong values that the people will believe in the next years.
Yeah.
Just adding to what you said, I believe that convenience and practicity, the quality of service, the speed of it, you know, are going to be very central to it. How we deliver a quality meal, a quality product in a very nice environment, in the most efficient way that's really frictionless and that people can renew the experience every time with pleasure.
We used to work to talk about the quality of life at work for the people. And I think the lunchtime, it's part of this quality of life. And it will remain. And it was already the case in the years before, but it was a little bit theory. Now, as the people are less coming to the office, when they are coming, it has to be better than at home, to be honest.
Better than at home, absolutely. And it kind of reminds me again, we don't know in 10 years' time, we don't know what will happen. We might go through another, God forbid, we might go through another pandemic like we've done now. But if we do, hopefully the changes and the things we've learned, all the lessons that we've learned until now, we'll be able to put those into action and do an even better job if that comes again, right?
And I believe we need to continue be looking for sustainable solutions. We need to be more healthy, but we should never forget the fun and the pleasure of eating. And the dessert, you know, it's the 80%, 20%, 20% of fun. You just forget, you eat what you want, what you feel like. And the 80% is more, you know, regular stuff.
There's actually one aspect we haven't really talked about, and that's beverages. That's drinks. That's the drink side. Very quickly before we open it up to our audience, drinks. What people are drinking. Is it all those things we talked about? Sustainability, healthy options. The story. Does that all come into play when we're talking about beverages? What we're drinking. Is it the same?
I think from a LC point of view, this is quite the same. There are some clients that they are refusing to implement Cokes and all this. But once again, there is the same approach regarding some local products. If you are in Brittany, the clients are expecting water from Brittany. Sometimes, if it exists, this approach with the local sourcing is very important. But in our restaurant, we are not serving wine, we are not serving alcohol. So I think for the rest, the impact of those changes is not so high.
At the office, there is a strong demand for alcoholic beverage, and people would have to have this opportunity, this option to even after lunch or in the late afternoon to have a beer or to have something. I've seen Diageo, the owner of Johnny Walker, and these guys. They are, you know, giving away tables and chairs to bars and to companies, and with fridge, with alcohol for them to allow this more convivial, you know, sharing a happy hour moment that also is part of the culture. Yeah. Therefore, I think there is room for many.
That's the change I think we can have in the next years. That's as I said, the quality of life at the office should be better than at home. So if you are able to organize some after-work parties in the office, why not having some alcohols? Why not? If it helps to attract people in the office and to work them more in an efficient way.
As you say that,
late in the evening.
As you say that, when you say it's got to be better in the office than at home, and all the things that attract people, all the things that we love anyway as human beings. If we put everything in the office, it would be a wild office. I'm pretty sure about that. But let's see how far it will go. Right. What we'll do now is I'll open it up to the audience. Any of you that have a question or like to pose a question regarding what we've been talking about, challenge what we've been talking about, or just have a comment they'd like to share, well, I'll do that now. Come over with a microphone. Would anybody like to ask a question, perhaps? No, that's okay. That no questions tells me that you're happy. Tells me that you have nothing to say. That you're I can see you're smiling. Most of you are smiling. You are all smiling now. with that, I think we're gonna wrap up. We're quite happy to wrap up everything we've said. Again, Mathieu, Olivier, you'll be around a little bit more, I guess, today as well. So those of you that like to maybe start a conversation, maybe have a coffee together and talk a little bit more about what we've been talking about, or those of you that are watching this recorded wherever you are, whenever you are, you might want to reach out to Mathieu or Olivier and start the conversation in that way. In that respect, thank you so much. And Olivier and Mathieu, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.